Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. My name is Dom Calvano, and I'm coming to you from the squat rack. Alrighty, so we are here today at Winter's Edge Training Facility in Pewaukee, Wisconsin. This is where I train. This is where I spend 90% of my time. If I'm not working and I'm not sleeping, you're probably going to find me here, honestly. This place is great. I love it, and we'll get to that eventually. So here I am, starting what is a vlog that I'm hoping to turn into a podcast. I'm very new to this, so bear with me. I'm hoping that each week we get a little bit better, we progress more, we upgrade technology. Honestly, right now I'm sitting here talking to my iPhone. It's weirding me out, and but we're gonna work through it. My goal of this podcast, this vlog, this project is to be not only discuss powerlifting, which is a very big passion of mine, but also talk about fitness, all aspects of fitness, powerlifting, CrossFit, strongman, bodybuilding, honestly everything, just day to day. Even interview, a soccer mom who just loves to work out. The goal is just to talk to the 99% of us. And what I mean by the 99% of us is I listen to a lot of powerlifting podcasts. I enjoy them. I consume them I consume multiple of them. I'm not a big YouTube guy, but I'm learning to enjoy YouTube. But podcasts are what I'm most passionate about. When I listen to these podcasts, a lot of these guys, they bring on the big name people that draw in the views. I totally get it. Everyone loves hearing Dan Bell's story, Joe Sullivan's story. You name them, they've had these people on. We listen to John Hack talk. We listen to, like I said, Dan Bell talk. And their stories are great. And they talk about how strong they are, which is amazing. These people are one of a kind. They do things that, even as myself, as I train, I couldn't imagine squatting 1,100 pounds. And I've had heavy squats. That is just insane. And it's something that I've come to face that I probably just will never have the ability to do. But then there's the rest of us, like people like myself, and I listen to these stories, and it's amazing to hear how strong they are, and we ooh and ah over these things. But what about guys like me? What about guys who, we're just kind of right here, the 99% of us, the guys who go into the gym every day and train just as hard, if not harder than those guys, but we just genetically weren't built to do amazing things. And that's okay, because guess what? The rest of us, we just do this because we love it. Powerlifting is my life. It's honestly one of the most important things to me in my life. It's the one thing that gets me out of bed every day. It's what I think about, 90% of the time. I'm thinking about what I'm eating, what I'm sleeping, what I'm training. It's what am I doing in the gym that day. I go to the gym before I go to work, get my cardio in, move, roll out, do all that stuff. I come back later in the day. It's all consuming, and I know I'm not the only person out there. And the people that I want to reach the most is people like myself, the people who love the sport for what it is, but we kind of came to terms that we may not set an all-time world record, and that's fine. But I'm still going to bust my ass every single day, just because if that window of opportunity is there, I don't want to miss it. And that's what I want to discuss with you. I want to discuss, don't get me wrong, I'd love to have a big name lifter on. If I ever were to talk to Dan Bell and get him on here, I would be, it'd be very humbling. I'd love to hear his story. We've all heard it, but you never know. I love talking to people like that is amazing. But I also want to hear from people like you, people like myself. I'm an entrepreneur. I love talking to people who also have started their own business, own their own businesses. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a year and a half into it. I'm learning. It's new. I don't even like calling myself an entrepreneur because it's so new that it could be gone tomorrow. But my buddy who owns the gym here at Winter's Edge, he's been doing it now for years. And I want to sit down and talk to him. He'll probably be like a co-host in here. I'm going to get him on as often as we can. But I want to talk to him, like what it took to open a gym, what it's like to come in here. He works 14 hours a day, in here every day of the week, training people, working with people. It's what he's passionate about. It's what fuels him. I want to talk to people like that. I want to talk to gym owners. I want to talk to people who own supplement stores. I want to talk to just daily people, even if they don't own a business. Just talk to them, sit down, be like, what fuels you to come to the gym? What does the gym do for you? A lot of people, it fuels a positive mental state for them, and that's great. For some people, it doesn't. For some people, they just want to look good naked. I get it. Who doesn't, right? But what the plan here is to sit down, talk to normal, everyday people, and get their insight, and just have a conversation, have some laughs, and just have a good time. The goal here is just to be nice, easy, relatable content. And I think that's kind of missing right now in some of the fitness and powerlifting aspects of vlogging and podcasting, because everyone wants to see everyone lift heavy-ass weight, and that's great. But at the end of the day, most of us can't really relate to that. So we're just going to have normal day-to-day conversations. When I'm at work, I consume a lot of podcasts, and I would say 90% of them are lifting / powerlifting base. I'll even say it. I listen to the Massonomics podcast, getting into that one. I enjoy it for the most part. There's things that they do that I think are hilarious and fun, and there's parts that I can't relate to, and that's fine. Because anyone who would sit down and listen to this is going to have the same problem with my podcast. There's going to be things that they love, and there's going to be things that they don't like. And that's totally fine. And I want to hear all about it because I want to bring everyone the best content they have. I also enjoy listening to Two White Lights, Angelo Fortino. It's more of a USAPL-based power podcast, and that's fine. I personally do not compete in the USAPL, but I do like some things that the USAPL does. I think the way that they have like a structured almost tournament system where there's local meets, you can qualify for nationals, there's worlds, all these things, there was international competition, no longer, but I think that structure of you have to be good enough to be here, is something that's really missing in the untested side of powerlifting. I think that's really cool, and I think it really forces people to show up and bring their A game and not just kind of pick and choose when they feel like they want to compete. Another one I listen to is the Let's Get Stupid podcast. Tom Finn, Tom Callis, those guys, I think they're hilarious. And the thing that I like the most about it, and that's something that, I want to bring original content to this show, but one thing that I do enjoy the most about theirs that I would almost want to mimic in a way is that it's just two guys having a conversation, sitting down, having a beer, and just kind of bullshitting with a buddy. And I think that's awesome. I think it's hilarious. And I enjoy it when I'm at work because it reminds me of being here at the gym with my friends. We have the same conversation, the same laughs. They're from Illinois, I'm from Wisconsin. A lot of the conversation is basically a mix of everything that we talk about here, the weather, all that stuff. It's super relatable. And it kind of just, when I'm at work, it's like a good hour, 2 hours of just like kind of feeling like I'm here with my people, and I enjoy that. And that's what I want to do with this show, is to reach people and just give them that relatability and hear normal people's stories, not always the top 1% of people. So with that said, let's dive into this. So like I said, I am Dom Calvano. I am from southeastern Wisconsin. I'm from Waukesha, Wisconsin. Basically Waukesha, Pewaukee, all in the same area. Doesn't really matter. I'm 27 years old. Like I said, I own my own painting and remodeling company. That's what I do for a living, and I love it. It's something that I'm growing into. It's something that I am passionate about, but I'm learning to become more passionate about. When I got into it, it was a lot. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm the most handy person and all that, but I've learned to enjoy it. I've loved to learn the process. I was a project manager for a while. The more business aspect is what I'm more passionate about, general contracting, stuff like that. And painting is, I enjoy it more than most people. Obviously, I do it every day. But the end goal isn't painting. I have bigger goals than that. And I'm sure along the way in this journey that we will talk about those goals and talk about how my business is going and where I foresee myself going in the future. Like I mentioned, I am a competitive powerlifter. I've been powerlifting now for about 7 years, 6-7 years. My first 2 meets were smaller meet at the Wisconsin State Fair. They're just a push-pull bench deadlift for those who don't always know the lingo. And those were just on a very small local setting. But the meet's awesome because they actually draw a big crowd because it's at the state fair. So my first time competing, I actually was benching and deadlifting in front of, honestly, there was a couple hundred people there. It was awesome. It's a one-of-a-kind thing. Everyone's there kind of partying, lifting. It's super positive. There's no real drama that goes into it. Some meets get a little dramatic or cliquey or whatever. There's none of that. It was just a lot of people out there, a lot of first-time lifters. It was a great first experience. It was awesome. I've been doing full power meets now for about 5 or 6 years. I believe my first meet was back in 2017, I want to say. And when I first started powerlifting, I competed in single ply powerlifting. For those who don't know, there's there's multiple different realms of powerlifting, but to keep it simple, there's raw powerlifting that's more your belt, your knee sleeves, your knee wraps. Geared powerlifting goes into wearing equipment that essentially helps you lift more weight. I have respect for both sides of powerlifting, and I do kind of consider them two very different sports. And I think a lot of times that geared powerlifting gets a lot of a bad reputation because we see people doing some crazy numbers raw, and you see similar things sometimes in the gear, but it's two very different things. The standards of judging, everything is very different, and the more that we kind of draw a divide in that understanding that, what these people do their kind of thing and these people do their kind of thing, I think it's better. Anyways, not to get off track, that's a topic we'll discuss a different day. But as I said, I competed in single ply gear for 2 to 3 years, squatted over 800 pounds in single ply, Not even going to talk about being in a bench shirt. Just wasn't in the cards for me at the time. And deadlifted over 700 a few times. So a few years back, ended up doing a raw meet and really liked it. At the time, I was competing in 242. While being 242, I was squatting into the sevens, benching high threes, and deadlifting also into the 700s. Again, a bench press has taken a long time to progress. Again, something that we don't need to talk about today. I'm sure it'll come up eventually. And from there, I recently just did a meet this past July. So about a month back. It was that last weekend of July. APF meet, Summer Bash down in Lombard, Illinois. And I was competing in the 308 class. So over the last 2 years, my coach and I, we decided to try something a little different. I was 242. I really enjoyed being 242, but we're like, all right, we're flirting with 800-pound squats, sitting around 250 pounds body weight. We're like, let's see if we go 275, flirt with 300, see what happens. While training, I did have some great training numbers. Bench close to 500, squatted 881. Deadlift wasn't really there. We didn't really train deadlift that much. I've been fortunate enough that I don't really need to train deadlift. I can still pull close to 700 pounds. But as I got bigger, leverages changed. It just became a chore. So yeah, unfortunately, every day on meet day, I was getting too beat up, hurt, injured, all that stuff, going in bumps and bruises, and a big total just wasn't there. Being big and working a physical labor job just was too much of a task. I was getting hurt just working. I wasn't sleeping well, was eating disgusting. My body hated me. You could say I was even like depressed because I just had no energy. So recently, in this past month, I've dropped 40 pounds. I plan to compete again at 242. And since losing all that weight, I am mentally in an amazing spot. Energy is through the roof. Kicking ass at work, loving training again, everything about it. I'm just a more social, more open person. It's great. And we'll touch on that a little bit more later. But I think anyone who knows me knows that sometimes I at least consider myself an introvert. I'm far from the life of the party. I'm far from the guy who's, always talking to people, laughing, joking. I keep it more to myself. With my group of friends, you could maybe say different, but I think for the most part, it's not that I'm not friendly. I just am, sometimes social settings just throw me for a loop, and I'm not always the guy who's going to walk up to everyone, say hi, introduce myself. It's something I'm working on and something I continue to work on. But in this last month of losing weight and getting all this energy, I've realized that powerlifting is more than just lifting weights. I've realized that it's the people that we're going to meet on this journey. It's the lessons that we learn in the gym under the bar that are what really is the greatest gift of powerlifting. And I've recently seen some things on Instagram and seen people get injured and stuff, and it's just kind of made me realize what the big picture is, right? And that we can't do this forever, unfortunately. I mean, some people are lucky and can do it at a high level for a long time, but eventually, the barbell's undefeated. It really is, and it breaks us down every day. And I'm not going to be able to do this for forever, but my main goal is to be able to leave some kind of impression on the sport, whether it's just, impacting a younger lifter, setting a good example, or meeting some amazing people. The goal of this is to really kind of leave a footprint in the sport, and I think that's what I've learned to become most passionate about in this small journey. I know it's small, but it really fueled the fire to finally do this. It's an idea I've had for a while. I just sometimes sitting here speaking to myself into a camera isn't really something I'm always comfortable with, but I think that right now is the right time for me to do this, and that I'm forcing myself to get my opinions out there because I think I have some great opinions. And I think I want people to also take this next step with me in that, realizing that the sport is an amazing sport, it's one of a kind, and that it's more than just lifting weights. It's about the friendships, the relationships, the lessons that we learn day in and day out, and competing and having fun. And sometimes we take it a little too serious. And I mean, as serious as I love to take it, sometimes you need to take a step back and look at it and be like, hey, this may be my life, but at the end of the day, it's just a hobby. But we can make the best of it while we're here. And that's really the goal of this podcast. So with that being said, just to go over a few more things. So the podcast I'm envisioning is more of a discussion with myself to the audience, along with trying to bring in guests. Like I said, I want to talk to like-minded individuals, entrepreneurs, gym owners, supplement company owners, lifters you may never heard of. And that's fine because not all of us have 20,000 Instagram followers. And that's okay, because some of the stories that we have are just as good, if not better, than the guys that we see every day on Instagram. A lot of times I think people are blinded by the fact that someone has 20,000 Instagram followers and assumes that they have something positive or amazing, some kind of information that we don't know to pass on. And a lot of times it's the same regurgitated information. So I want to just sit down, talk to people, talk about training, talk about their life. And I think from hearing those stories, as an audience, we can sit and take something from each of these conversations that help us grow as both an individual and as a lifter. I know there's like a hot topic of mental health out there right now, and I think it'd be great to talk to some people. I think that it's something that needs to be talked about. As much as it is talked about, I think it's something that we can always discuss. And I think that hearing people who may battle day-to-day issues, whether it's from their job or relationships and stuff, I think that the gym is a great outlet for people like that, or to help get some of those like anxieties and stressors out. So I think that sometimes we'll touch on that too, maybe kind of hit on some of the hard topics with the appropriate guests. So yeah, basically discussions, interviews, and I really don't have any topics that are off topic. I think if that there's things that people want to hear about, I want to have a platform that someone can come down and talk to, whether it's, powerlifting, CrossFit, all those things, all this fitness, weight loss, all these journeys that people go on. I think that together we're stronger, and I don't think that there's really any topics that at the moment are off topic, and I'd love to hear everyone's opinion on them. So yeah, I also think that this would be a great place. I used to do some personal training before I got more into painting and other stuff, and I'd really like to talk to beginning lifters. I think that there's a lot of information that I've learned over the years that I wish someone would have taught me being a beginning lifter, and I'd really like to have some of those conversations with guys who are getting ready for their first meet. What does that look like? What do you need to bring? What should you eat? Where should you stay the night? All these things. What do weigh-ins look like? Should I cut weight? Should I not? As a beginner, probably not. But again, let's have these discussions. I think it's an open, sometimes the stories that are told on these powerlifting podcasts are just interviews, but sometimes they don't always give out a lot of information. I want this to be a place that someone can come to and not only hear amazing stories, but also learn some lessons about powerlifting, strongman, CrossFit, all these great things. Also, we have no title. So that is something that is going to be worked on. I've been talking to people this past week or so. I've been really reaching out to people around the gym, people around me, and just saying, hey, thinking about starting this vlog podcast thing. I'm not much of a YouTube person, so I already said a name that I really like that someone said. I think there's already a guy with subscribers on YouTube who has that name. Not saying I'm going to have as many as him, but I'd like to at least, I want to bring original content. I don't want this to sound like, one podcast or another podcast, or steal ideas or do, steal segments. I just want this to be an original, an original show. So with that being said, I have 3 ideas that I'm going to put out there. One I really like, one I'm just kind of okay with, and one that I think is just very vanilla but appropriate. So with that being said, a very generic name, but I think hits on a lot of things. As I mentioned, the gym is what I think about 90% of the time. A very simple eat, sleep, train, repeat. I mean, that's 6 out of 7 days a week. That's my life right there. And I think that I know there's a lot of people out there who are just like me and can really relate to that. Not a bad name, but also just kind of a working title. I also had just another powerlifting podcast because, as we know, everyone, every other gym has a guy who's trying to start this podcast. And here I am being that guy. But with that being said, it's worth a shot. So here I am, just throwing it out there. And the one I like the most that someone said might be a little controversial, but I think it's hilarious. And, I'll say it first. So the More Plates, Less Dates podcast. I think it's a great name. I think it's the most true statement about lifting weights. As a guy, everyone has that, you get to that age where you're like, all right, I'm going to hit the gym. I'm going to get in shape. Going to get jacked. Going to get a big bench press. Everyone wants a big bench press. Everyone wants big chest, big arms, right? Girls are going to love it. Chicks are going to dig it. Well, let's be real. The only people who really admire it and point it out are other dudes. Not that that's a problem. No problem with that here. But it never seems to work out the way we want. I've never had a girl come up to me and be like, oh, your arms are so big. You're so strong. It's always just the other dude in the corner like, hey, man, that's a good bench you got there. Your arms looking big. It's just how it goes. It's part of lifting weights, and it's never going to change. And so for that reason, I think that's my favorite podcast name. I think it's funny. I want the show to be funny. I think it talks about, it's not all encompassing. It's not just talking about powerlifting. It's just talking about lifting in general and the fitness lifestyle. So that is something that will be brought up again. And I'm hoping by next time to have a more concrete name and idea of what we're doing. As I said, I'm Dom Calvano. I'm coming to you live from the Squat Rack. And make sure to follow me on Instagram, Dom Calvano. And I'll be posting more information about not only the podcast, but more social media stuff, and hopefully getting more information out to you guys soon. The goal is to be doing this about once a week. By the end of the month, I want to have this one and one other one out there for you guys. Thinking most shows are going to be between 20, 25 minutes to an hour, depending on if we have a guest, what's going on. If there's, hot drama going on in the powerlifting world, we can break it down. I'll bring it to you. So that's welcome to the podcast, and I'll see you guys soon. Thanks.